All right. Good afternoon, everyone. I am Mike Asherbrander, the Redneck Connector and proud and humble leader of the Hounds of Business community. And you are tuning in to the Hounds of Business presents Mike King Biz Radio on ESPN 106.1 RVA on FM. We have a special treat, Hounds partner, great person, a friend of mine, Julie Johnson with Integrate, all about trauma and trauma specialist and helping people through that. And her good friend, Laura Miller. So, we're going to get into this and talk about these things and then also incorporate some AI knowledge. I'm super excited and looking to learn because I don't know what these ladies are so smart, guys. I don't know, like, so they're going to have to break it down for us. So, I can't wait to get this party started and let's have run the intro.
Are you looking to grow your network and your net worth with other high-level, heart-centered professionals? Then grab a seat and your favorite beverage and join Mike Asherbrander, the Redneck Connector. It's time for the Hounds of Business Community Happy Hour.
All right. Good to see everyone. If you're in the car or in the office on the radio, thank you for tuning in. And if you're live right now, we appreciate you, Hounds and friends of the Hounds. And speaking of which, look, Christy D. Williams is here. Thank you, my friend from Florida. Oh, I bet it's nicer than it is here today. And Natasha, good Tasha is here. Thank you so much. So, Julie Johnson, Laura Miller. Julie, how are you today?
I'm good. Glad to be here, Mike.
Yeah, me too. You should see I'm smiling like a monkey. That's genuine, right? Yeah. Yes, ma'am. Laura, how are you today?
It's been a really, really great day. I'm glad it's, what is it, Wednesday? Tuesday. Okay, it's that kind of day where it's such a good day, you don't know what day it is. That's where I'm at.
Don't feel bad. It's December, so nobody, it's a blur, isn't it? Can you believe? Oh my gosh, I know it's cliche, but dadgummit, it's already the end of the year. My gosh, it's like light year, right? Holy cow. So let's give short intros. I want folks to understand where you come from because this is a good time of year to talk about these things, especially with the new year approaching. So Julie Johnson with Integrate Network, tell the folks what it is you do and you're a little bit on your background, please.
Yeah. So Integrate Trauma Informed Network is exactly what I just said. It's a network. We have an affinity group of vetted professionals that we're in from anything from social workers to tech people to wellness professionals. And we are all working to learn the interpersonal skills we need in order to essentially run through conflict management, but from a trauma-informed lens. And what that means is, or a change management lens. And what that means is we're not looking at what's wrong with us. We're looking at like what's happened to people. So we're looking at people in their most holistic context, okay? Not just the behaviors in front of us, which we're going to talk about, which is that self-sabotage behavior, but the story behind those behaviors. So that way we're not just judging a book by its cover. That's essentially what we're doing.
Yeah, no, thank you for that. Somebody better answer that phone. So, yeah, and I forgot to tell the folks, thank you for that. We're going to be exploring with these ladies that know what they're talking about, how we perceive as, what we perceive as personal. Sure, I'll get the words out. I got laryngitis today. Be easy. Personal shortcomings, right? That are really natural responses, like you said, to societal pressures, our experiences, and personal histories, right? And what we can do about it. So on that note, let's go to Laura and share with us what your background is and how you fit into this equation.
Hi, so my name is Laura Miller, and I am an AI ethicist, but I like to say I'm an ethics first ethicist. What that means is I came from philosophy and ethics and went into tech. I did not find tech and then trip into ethics. So I kind of reversed them and had some good old fun. But in addition to that, I focus on what is right, good, fair, and just, and how society, because I do applied ethics in our world, but how we're setting things up in society and how by extension that causes us to treat other people, why and how we build trust, why and how we build respect, and what are the good things that we need that we don't have, and what are the less than good things that we have that maybe we don't need more of and maybe don't need to begin with. So I focus at the intersection of society, technology, and the good stuff.
There you go. And I find this interesting because, y'all remember Billy Madison, the movie? with Adam Sandler.
Mhm.
Every time I hear
Yeah.
ethics, I think about that guy that when they asked the question, he didn't know what to say. He hated ethics, right? So, but AI and all this new technology is such a baby, and I still think of the challenges we have in general with ethics, perhaps in a lot of regard. So this is a very hot topic and one that's really, interesting to me. So
Okay.
Julie, let's go to you. Before I get into it, because I want to ask you, really the science behind self-protective behaviors. But I'm going to guess
Yeah.
that you have something you want to share beforehand and then lead into this.
Yeah. So I think for me, so before I move into this, I think that it's good to understand where these things come from. So I have a background in being like a recovery coach and working in peer coaching and in education, but I work like Laura. I work in this division between tech and human-centered practices, or which could be healthcare, wellness, things like that. So I work in that intersection, and my background is in that intersection, without going over the laundry list of things I've done. But in that space, that human-centered space, we're looking through the lens of, we call it the adverse childhood experiences, which was a study done from between 1998 and 2010, I believe, that the CDC did, where they essentially did a long-term survey to see how adverse childhood experiences impacted the behaviors and health outcomes of adults, right, from birth to adulthood. And the outcomes were not good. I mean, long story short, the outcomes were not good. And that's impacted a lot of the things that we see, but it's colored a lot of the lens that I look out of, right? Which is, again, looking at people as not what's wrong with you, but what's happened to you. And in terms of tech and self-sabotage behaviors, that's usually what ends up happening to us, is we end up creating this narrative around self-sabotage because society has created this narrative about something being wrong with us. And that's Michelle Ward, who was on here last week with me, can talk all about that, in her work with self-sabotage. But that's the narrative, and working towards, a space of thriving. So what trauma-informed care and what we're doing is how can we understand the context of people's self-sabotage behaviors and work towards this place of thriving. And we do that lots of times with technology like AI. So one of the big things which is why Laura's here, which is one of the reasons why we love talking about modern technology and bridging technology with those self-sabotage behaviors, because we're seeing this a lot in app development. We're developing an app ourselves, which launches December 22nd, by the way. But seeing that diversion of how can we take self-sabotage, how can we take these narratives and use tech to help us bridge into a space of thriving is what we're seeing in many ways with AI. And that usually means, like what Laura's going to talk about here, we're going to have a little bit of that shadow, and we're going to have a little bit of that thriving piece, and we have to work through those things. And that's Laura's work, and I will segue that over to Laura.
Yeah,
No, Mike,
real quick. Did you say it's not what's wrong with you, it's what's happened to you? Is that what you said?
Yeah.
Oh, I can second that. Yeah, no, I can't, because we all think something's wrong with us, right? I have, and everybody else has, but it isn't. It's your experience and your interpretation of it, right? That's
Right.
really where it gets down.
Right. Yeah. And I think that's where that's where the self-sabotage happens, is we get into those narratives of, whatever your addiction, whatever addiction is. It doesn't have to be substance abuse. It can be shopping. It can be substance abuse. It's one of them, but there's many addictions, but they're usually those are all behaviors and symptoms from my lens of, the self-sabotage, of that what's wrong with you mentality. Those old narratives, those survival narratives is what I call them. So, because they're not bad, they're just wise, and we have to learn to understand them. That's really what the concept is that we're looking through.
Right. And the traditional method of uncovering these. So when somebody's aware of and they're ready to seek help, they would go and see a therapist or talk to somebody that's
Mm-hmm.
trained in this, correct? But today
Mm-hmm.
there's an integration, even with licensed professionals like you. There's AI, right? Like apps and stuff. So that's where Laura comes in, correct?
Right.
Right. So let's segue a little bitty bit, Laura, and you can answer this however you want. It's called NextGen Ethics. Is that right?
Yeah, NextGen Ethics, because in our world, we really do need to start having these conversations about what's good for us, what's right for us, what's fair to others, what is the right thing to do, both in how we build technology, which is where a lot of people are focused in AI development, like, oh, wait, is it transparent? Do we understand what it does? But my intersection with work is, do we understand what it's doing to the public? Do we understand what we just threw out into the world? Do we understand the moment that we're expecting people to meet without ever having any of the conversations with them about what would be involved in meeting them? There is a lot of challenge across all the fronts regarding ethics and AI and technology and the changes to our world. As a matter of fact, one of the first things that we learned in AI when, generative AI launched into the mainstream public, you guys have been using it forever. It's in chatbots and all sorts of stuff, but it wasn't nearly as conspicuous as, hey, laptop, how you doing today? That kind of changed things. That was a moment that was like, okay, wait, hold up.
Like the Jetsons, yeah.
First for it to respond and be like, well, that's kind of a rough middle of the week. We're like, wait, whoa, what happened there? But one of the first things that we learned, or that I really took stock of, was we're not okay. Now, I think we knew that. I think if you talk to any one of us, you'd be like, hey, how you doing? So you've been through COVID. Most of us have been like, dude, not okay. It's not a big leap there. But AI uses generative AI uses massive data sets for training. And one of the tasks of getting a data set ready to train an AI is you have to, quote unquote, clean the data set, which basically means taking the not good stuff out of it. Okay. Some very troubling things, how do I create chemical weapons? What kind of abuse, who suffered at my hands or someone else's? We start looking at all of that kind of stuff. But what we really did, and we didn't know we were doing it because we didn't know they were going to scrape every Reddit conversation, Facebook post, and everything else it could get its hands on, is we've spent our entire life since the first website circa around the early 1990s, and we told on ourselves in how not good we were doing. We put our dumpster fire that was our social lives, our psyche, our experiences with the world. We thought that they would only go no further than the conversation with the person we had or the people that were set up to see this post. Sometimes we went a little rogue, made some things public maybe we ought not have. But what we really did is we revealed to ourselves back where we really were. And that's my broken mirror theory, is we keep looking at this response from AI like, whoa, it'll tell you how to create that. Like, that means somebody typed it somewhere. Wow, it knows about that kind of abuse or that kind of pain or those kinds of challenges. It's because we taught it that. We are its teachers, its trainers, its lesson plan, its educators, but we're also the grown-ups in the room who are supposed to help it grow up and hopefully learn the good things in life. But what it heard was all of the naughty conversations around the corner that you hope the kid was out of earshot from. Yeah, it wasn't out of earshot. So it heard all the naughty bits too. And instead, we hope we clean the mirror or get a better mirror and suddenly our reflection looks much better. Hey, I have a great hair day. Look, it's a filter. But the truth and where our work really lies is in the unclean data, in the parts where we told on ourselves. That's where our true selves are. And that's where we're showing up into the world. And that's where the work is. And a new mirror isn't going to fix that, nor is it going to fix the future data set for AI.
Wow.
Because it's still there.
My little camo head just blew off. Right. That was deep. No,
sorry.
That was deep, but it's true. And be real quick, because Julie, don't change the channel. I need you to jump in right after this halftime. But I got off of certain social medias years ago because everybody's life looked perfect. Everybody looked great. And everybody had nobody's toilet clogged, but my toilet, right? All these crazy things. And I got off of it. I said, man, this is bad. Like instead of keeping up with the Joneses, we're competing in hyperspeed with the Joneses now, right? So we can get all in there. But I want to give Mike King Biz a shout out. Mike King, always pushing up your community. And together we get to go international, my friend. So I hope you're having a great holiday season. Merry Christmas, Happy New Year. And you're tuning in to Mike King Biz, 106.1 RVA FM, rolling with the Hounds of Business. Check us out on YouTube, Hounds of Business. We have tons of content from brilliant folks like this that you can learn from and tap into. You can find us on LinkedIn, or you can old school send a carrier pigeon. I still take those. All right. So we are rolling with Laura Miller and Julie Johnson. We're talking about essentially trauma and self-protective behaviors, navigation of that, and AI integration. So, Julie, based on all that wild, amazing stuff that Laura said, what is your take on this from your, trauma-informed background?
Well, I think the big thing is, we have to look at this from, like, I also have a background in instructional design and in curriculum design. And, I think what I start to look at through that lens is, the analysis is, how do we take a technology like that and how do we help, how can we help formulate it so it can work people into thriving, into a space of thriving. And, we've seen the development of mental health apps with AI, and even people, I think we were talking about this earlier, Laura, where people with who may not have access to healthcare can actually use AI to begin to at least get that ball rolling, or people with who don't want to leave their house to do in-person therapy. They can start that process of moving into thriving sometimes with an app, right? It's that first step, that first download, right? Obviously there is a very short period of time where that is, healthy, I believe, because, you need an objective actual person to, I
was going to say, with caution, we can use those apps. That caution part is a big piece.
Yeah, it's cautionary. And that's the point I was getting to. And I think in terms of trauma-informed care, I think that, we have to, because I look at it from like an accessibility perspective, which is like, okay, people can get quick access to mental health, but it also we need to have models of care, a workflow, because we love workflows in L&D, workflows where we get to a person. And that's where I've seen the best models, where people can start with AI, but then AI initially, or say, it's like an intake process. It like triages, and then it actually connects to a person. And that's one of the best models I have seen of the mental health, the AI to therapist connection.
I'd agree.
Let me ask this, because other people have to be asking this too, at least in their heads. So it's like giving a kid a circular saw, or a skilled, craftsman a circular saw, right? Like, so where is the line? People who want help, or maybe like you said, Julie, can't afford it, they might go on, YouTube videos or AI, and they'd be looking at this. But could that cause more harm than good? Because, and I'll defer to Laura, it's not regulated. It could be incorrect, or it may not even be what that person needs, right? So if I hear you correctly, having someone like Julie and the staff, the people who are trained and certified using the tool, vastly different result. Is that right? So someone who uses the proper stuff with the right guidance is vastly different. Go ahead.
There's a lot of ways that this can go wrong, and a lot of ways it can go right. I mean, we've had AI bots tell people to kill themselves. We've had AI bots tell others that they're in love with them. I mean, if it's not trained right, and you don't have guardrails, and more important, guard persons, let's have humans in the loop on this, it can go very, very wrong, where people in desperate need get brave and finally reach out online, and the help they get is exactly not the help that they need. But in the times where it is trained properly, there are humans riding shotgun, it can be a way to open a door. It can be a way to have a conversation of, I can't seem to find the right therapist. What kind of therapist could help me with this? But also bear in mind that everything that we type in, if we don't have certain settings set on our technology, it can then be used as a training set. It can be spit back out to somebody else. And that is really, really personal and vulnerable making information. How good technology will serve us depends on how much we're willing to invest in making sure that it does.
There's a lot of issues that I know, like, not clicking the right filter, and all your personal info is out there for the world to get. So nextgenethics.com, that's your website, right? That's how folks can get a hold of you if they want to learn more about this, responsible use, help. Maybe they're a victim of that, right? Because I'll tell you what, if I turn my computer on and it says I love you, it's going right into the outhouse, right? But Julie, go ahead.
And she has a book coming out, by the way. She hasn't said that yet, but she has a book coming out all about this.
Well, come on, Modest. Well, let people know.
I have a book coming out.
When's the book coming out? What's it?
It's AI Ethics in Action, and it's available for pre-order on Amazon. It's a lot of it is geared towards businesses and companies adopting it, but there's a spot at the beginning where there's a quiz to help you understand how you make ethical decisions, because usually you fall into one of three camps. But it also can show you how and why you might have a hard time getting someone to hear a message you're sharing because they might be approaching it from a different angle. There's a lot of good information in there for individuals. Don't let the byline dissuade you from thinking there's not something in it for you. I've tried to make sure that there's something in it for as many people as I can think of, and then some.
Good deal. And so AI Ethics in Action on Amazon, pre-order, right? And you can check out Laura Miller's website at nextgenethics.com. All right. And we're just giving a teaser out. There's no way we can have a big in-depth. I would love to have like a 6-hour convo on this, but they would kill me.
Yeah.
So let's go to Julie. All right. I want to dive in a little bit and then we'll tie it together. Can you break down the science of the self-protected behaviors, right? So, what's your understanding of this and, how the nervous system responds to stress and trauma?
Yeah. So like I said, I started with the adverse childhood experiences, and I kind of sit in that research to kind of help frame our behaviors and how I frame and look at self-sabotage. So, a lot of the ways that we cope when we are working through survival is we don't know this. I didn't know this until I was in therapy going through my own process, was that a lot of our self-sabotage behaviors are coping our nervous system. So our nervous system is our fight, flight, freeze response to stress, threat, around us. And lots of times our coping mechanisms, like symptoms of addiction, even fighting sometimes can be a form of coping, coping with stress, right? So that's when we're in a space of dysregulation, or what I will say, like anxiety, all right, when we're in an anxious state, we will find things to help us deal with the discomfort of what's happening inside of ourselves. Okay. So sometimes people will go to drinking, people will go to shopping, credit cards, people will go to, whatever, any other kind of abuse, or self-abuse, that's there because it is a form of self-abuse, but it's all a way of, that's why I said it's wise. It's all a frame about helping us cope with uncomfortable emotions and uncomfortable situations. So it's not necessarily like bad. That's why I'm saying, but we're actually trying to help ourselves deal with some really, really uncomfortable situations, and it's actually helping us survive. So that's how we frame it in the trauma-informed world. That's how we frame self-sabotage, is it's helping you get through some pretty tough situations that would fall into the line of our spectrum into the trauma, not just toxic, traumatic.
Yeah. And that's why we're having this, because people are triggered like more than ever during the holidays, the new year. There's so much self-imposed stress, external pressures, right? Good reasons and excuses. And people have a natural aversion, a lot of people, to getting help, right? That's why they do the maladaptive behaviors and overdrink or overeat or whatever to cope with the stress. And I want to make sure people know. So if you want to learn more about Julie Johnson Integrate Network, definitely go to Let's Integrate. So it's all one word, let'sintegrate.live. That's the main place to go, because I've been there. I've done that, right? And I don't talk about it much, but I do that because there's a lot of misconception. Well, I should be better, or, I'm too macho to seek help. And listen, guys, if that's you, if I'm a redneck, but I don't mess with my engine, right? So if my car stopped working right, I wouldn't go in there and start monkeying around with the engine, right? I would go to a professional. It's like why chiropractors don't crack their own necks, right? It's actually wise to go to people, because you ladies lived it, right? You're not just reading it from a book and getting served. You went through your own life struggles, right? That we can't even get into right now. But you relate to people, and that's why you went out to do this. That's what I want people out there listening to know. You went out there to find and be that guide along that journey for others, so they're not lost, right? So, let me ask the last. Oh my God, I told y'all this goes too fast, right? It's too much fun. So, Julie, do you have something you want to add to that real quick?
No, I was just gonna say, I know you have. Yeah, no, we're good. Do you want me to answer the last question, or do you want to ask it first?
Yeah, let me ask it so the folks know.
Okay.
So practically speaking, right? What I want to combine you two before we let them go, because I want them to go check out more. right? But practically speaking, what are the most effective strategies that you've discovered for helping individuals move from a survival mindset that we were talking about to a, self-empowered, more true leadership, self-aware mindset? What are some things folks could do, or first place to start?
Laura, why don't you go? You start.
Well, for me, the practical things come down to this. First is, you're responsible for the good stuff that shows up in life. The bad stuff and the hard stuff, you usually don't get a vote in. Sudden car accidents, someone gets ill, bad things happen in the world. You can't stop that. Those things are outside of your control. But the good stuff, you have a say in every moment of every day. You can choose the good, you can choose the positive. And by doing that, that means that you also have to know when's the right time to say yes to some things and when's the right time to say no to some things. You can catch yourself in some of those self-coping mechanisms. And you know what? You can hold yourself. You can say, you know what? No, I'm not going to lean into that. I'm going to try to lean into something else. You can also say something along the lines of, you know what? I guess I absolutely want to do that. I'm going to go out on a limb. I'm going to take that chance. I'm going to do that thing. But the good stuff, the stuff you need most, you can always give to yourself. One of my top bits of advice from one of my best friends who was, looking for love in all the wrong places was that, people tell you need to learn to love yourself. Like, what does that even look like? And I was like, go eat your favorite food, go read your favorite book, go watch the crazy TV you like to watch, or the movies that are your favorite, and remind yourself who you are. And then when somebody shows up and they're not you, you'll know. But I guess my big takeaway would be, the good stuff, you can give yourself that anytime. It doesn't automatically make the bad stuff go away, but man, it sure does help balance that scale.
Yes, I am glad. And Julie had disappeared. Her battery was dying. So everybody's like, there she is. Yeah. And to me, it's this define success for yourself. We were told what to do, societal expectations, parent, child, all that stuff. And then one point you should grow up and fight through that and say, look, I'm going to define what happiness is. Just because everybody told me to go to college, maybe that's not it, right? And that takes a lot of deep inner work. And that's why I wanted to have you ladies up here, because that's a hard road to do by yourself. Much better to have guidance and folks that can relate. Julie, all right, and we only got 2 minutes, so I want to make sure that folks get, do you have any events coming up, Julie?
Yeah, so one of the ways you can start this is actually coming to Integrate's Trauma-Informed Leadership Symposium. So I think a lot of the things we talk about on Integrate that we've been talking about here is called self-leadership, right? Is unless you are leading yourself, it's hard to lead others, right? So this is the self-leadership. We call it self-sabotage. I call it self-leadership. That's the thriving word, right? That's the opposite side of self-sabotage, is self-leading. So on March 1st, we're going to start, we're having a pre-recorded event that will be going for 4 weeks. And we're going to be talking about self-leadership. And what does it mean to lead from this lens of what's happened to you instead of what's wrong with you? And what does that look like from the lens of business, tech, wellness, relationship, conflict resolution. So we have therapists, we have wellness coaches, we have all kinds of people. Laura's a part of it. And we're talking about what it looks like from all these different lenses, including things that help us. We call it resourcing in the world of trauma-informed care, helping us internally resource. What is it that we need in order to thrive? So.
Wonderful. Everybody go learn more. The Hounds of Business is more than thrilled to support, partner, and push this up. So you can go to our YouTube channel. We'll be putting short videos. We'll be posting things. But the best place to go is let'sintegrate.live. All right, that's the website. And any last 20-second closing remarks? Thank you, ladies, for being here. I know we couldn't scratch the surface, but I want to make sure people understand that there's a slew of resources and people who know what they're talking about that you can trust. This is confidential. You need to make sure you put those, all that inner stuff needs to go into the trust zone. And that's why Julie and Integrate are here. We trust them. All right. That's all. You know me. If y'all heard me talking, that's what it's all about, guys. All right. Last moment thoughts and where to find you, Laura.
I've just had an absolute blast being here. It was nice to see Mike and nice to hang out with the Hounds. And I'm really looking forward to seeing what all of this awareness about our collective trauma kind of world we can make for future generations to make it better. because I think we deserve that. And I think it's time we had it.
Daggum straight. No, thank you both. Love having you in the Hounds. Thank you, Hounds, for showing up and folks driving around at your office. We appreciate you. Hounds of Business. What's it for? Hey, heart-centered, high-level professionals. Don't do it alone, or you have something special to offer the world. And most people won't. They won't make an impact through their business because they don't have the resources and support to get it done. That's what the Hounds is for. That's why we have Integrate, right? So we have it all. We got all these subcommunities. Yes, ma'am.
And Mike, I was just going to say, next Monday, you'll be able to download Integrate's app where called Let's Integrate. So on December 22nd, you type in Let's Integrate in your Apple or Android app, and you'll be able to download our app. And that gives us all of our events and all that good stuff. So you can actually get involved, not just learn, you can actually do things. So
yes. Wonderful, especially during this challenging, time. And then the spawn of 2025. We want to see people put their best foot forward, be their best self. Thank you for the app. Thank you for being here, ladies. If you want to learn more and you couldn't remember any of this, go to Hounds of Business on YouTube, Hounds of Business on LinkedIn. Connect with us. We'll be happy to set you up and connect you all. So have a great day. Enjoy the holiday, and we will see you back in January. Have a good one.
Thank you.
Thank you.